Hi, and thanks for joining me today. I'm Cheryl Butler, and you're listening to the Mighty Mommy's Quick and Dirty Tips podcast, which will help make your life as a parent a little bit easier and a lot more fun. Welcome. Today's episode is number 528, Helping Your Child Navigate Body Exploration. Because although this can be a sensitive subject, almost every parent will face this with their young kids, and how you handle it can make all the difference. As they grow, children start exploring their bodies, including the parts it's not considered polite to touch in public. How should a parent respond to this natural curiosity? It begins with letting your child know there's nothing to be ashamed of. In late December, I experienced an extraordinary parenting milestone that I'll treasure for the rest of my life, the birth of my first grandchild. Watching him enter this amazing world was surreal. Because I enjoy spending time with him, I was excited when my daughter asked me to join her at his pediatrician appointment. I was catapulted back to a time when I used to cart my own babies, usually several at a time, all by myself, for checkups. Most of those visits were a total blur. My one and only goal was getting my kids in and out with my sanity still intact. This time, though, my daughter was the one handling the car carrier, organizing bottles and diapers, and soothing her son while he fussed. I just sat and savored the time with my new grandson. We were waiting as the baby slept peacefully when a woman with a crying newborn and a preschool-aged child came in and sat down across from us. The frazzled mom told her little boy to stay seated while she cared for his baby sister. Though he had a small electronic toy in one hand, he was much more interested in the hand that he had down his pants. I waited to see how his mother would handle this breach of public etiquette, but she was too busy with her crying baby to notice. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, the nurse called my daughter in. We gathered the baby and his things and headed towards the exam room, leaving the little boy in the same position he arrived in. My daughter, looking so uncomfortable, asked me, "Mom, what was up with that little boy touching himself in public? Why didn't his mother tell him to stop?" It's a good question. So let's take some of the mystery out of young children and body exploration. First, there are normal sexual behaviors and exploration. Children's curiosity can lead to exploring their own and each other's body parts by looking and touching. As I explained to my daughter, it's completely normal for kids as young as toddlers to become aware of their private parts. And when they do, they're often so consumed with this self-discovery that they aren't tuned in to who might be watching them. The American Academy of Pediatrics shared a list of the following normal sexual behaviors in children. Ages 2 to 6, touching or masturbating genitals in public or private. It's normal. Or looking at or touching a peer's or a new sibling's genitals, as well as showing genitals to peers, or standing or sitting too close to someone, and trying to see peers or adults naked. Once a young child discovers their penis or vagina, you can expect them to become fascinated with looking and touching. This may be a normal activity, but it still causes parents embarrassment, especially when it happens in a public setting. Hey, as the mom of 5 boys, it's happened to me on many occasions. Although I knew it would pass, I also knew that how I reacted would help my children not feel ashamed of their bodies and give them a better understanding of what they could and couldn't do in public. So really the first thing is, don't overreact. As with so many facets of parenting, your child will ultimately look to you for guidance. He'll observe how you react when he embarks on any new experience, especially one that involves something he's learning, such as taking his first steps, using language for the first time, using the toilet alone, and yes, discovering his genitals. Think back to when your child began to walk. You probably cheered him on excitedly from the sidelines, helping him gain momentum and confidence with each new step he took. Your joyful facial expressions and enthusiastic tone sent a positive message. You're doing an awesome job. Keep up the great work. The way you react to your child when you find them exploring their body will also send a message. Your language, tone of voice, and expression could have a tremendous impact on whether your child perceives body exploration as shameful and bad or just a normal part of life. When you do find your child actively touching himself, even if it makes you uncomfortable, don't scold him. You don't want him to feel as though he's committed a crime. Instead, turn the situation into a teachable moment. Tell your child that body exploration is natural and explain that it's a private activity. Your child will continue to learn important lessons from you that can help pave the way for a healthy attitude toward their bodies and sexuality. So remember, there's no shame. In How to Talk to Your Kids About Masturbation in a Healthy Way, sex education teacher Kim Cavell encourages using the topic of masturbation as an opportunity to teach skills and concepts that empower young people to grow into sexually healthy adults. Communicating acceptance is simple and sounds like this. I see you're touching your penis or your vulva or your anus. That feels good, doesn't it? Touching those body parts feels really different than touching other parts, like your elbows or knees. I'm glad you're getting to know your body because bodies are really cool. I love how Cavell keeps body exploration simple and acceptable. This approach helps a child feel like there is nothing dirty or shameful about self-touch. The next thing you can do is you can promote private body exploration with your child. Begin teaching your child the difference between public and private. If she starts touching herself in public, quietly tell her that some things are okay to do when she's alone, but not when there are people around. Sarah Dimmerman, a child and family therapist in Thornhill, Ontario, explains, the message should be that touching in and of itself is not dirty or disgusting, so long as it's done in an appropriate place and doesn't put the child at risk of exploitation. It's okay for them to touch themselves when they're in their rooms alone, but, not at the supermarket or the park. In the case of the boy touching his privates in the pediatrician's office, this would have been a great opportunity for his mother to quietly tell him, that's something we only do at home. And to keep him from his preoccupation, she could have redirected him toward a toy, crayons, or some other interesting activity. Next, something that's really important is talking to your child about body safety. When your child begins to explore her own body, typically between the ages of 3 and 5, it's the perfect time to begin teaching her about body safety. We teach our kids not to play near busy roads, how to use their words, and how to swim so they can stay safe near deep water. But experts say that parents wait longer than they should to teach their children about body safety, including what unsafe touch is and what to do about it. One of the best resources I've found on this topic is from child therapist Natasha Daniels. She offers easy-to-understand guidelines for empowering children to manage body safety at a young age. Here are some of her important suggestions gleaned from Do You Teach Your Kids Body Safety? 10 Things Every Child Should Know. One of those is use anatomical terms to talk about body parts. Make sure your child knows the proper names for their body parts instead of slang terms. If a child needs to disclose abuse, vague language can make their story confusing. Teach them that private parts are private. Private parts are called that for a reason. They're not for everyone to see. Let your child know that mommy and daddy can see them naked, and so can doctors who are checking their body while mommy or daddy are present. But other people should not see them without their clothes on. Teach boundaries. Let your child know that they're in control of their own bodies and no one should touch their private parts. By the same token, make sure your child knows that no one should ask them to touch someone else's private parts. Daniels says that parents often forget the second part, and sexual abuse often begins with the perpetrator asking the child to touch them or someone else. And make sure your child knows that secrets are not okay. Daniel says, Most perpetrators will tell children to keep the abuse a secret. This can be done in a friendly way, such as, "I love playing with you, but if you tell anyone else what we played, they won't let me come over again." Or as a threat, "This is our secret. If you tell anyone, I will tell them it was your idea and you'll get in big trouble." Make sure your child understands that body secrets are not okay, no matter what anyone else says. And don't forget to tell them to let you know if anyone else asks them to keep something about their bodies or someone else's a secret. You should also make sure your child knows they will never get in trouble if they tell you about a body secret or a time when they felt uncomfortable or unsafe. Children often tell me they didn't say anything because they thought they'd get in trouble too, says Daniels. This is often reiterated by the perpetrator. Finally, if you'd like to check out some additional resources on this delicate subject, you might find the following helpful and interesting. Amaze.org offers fun animated videos that can help adults communicate openly and honestly with kids about puberty, reproduction, relationships, sex, and sexuality. And Sex Positive Families offers a reading list that features over 100 books for children and parents to support sexual health talks. How do you handle your child's curiosity with self-touch? Please share your thoughts in the comments section at quickanddirtytips.com/mighty-mommy. Or you can post your ideas on the Mighty Mommy Facebook page, as well as email me at mommy@quickanddirtytips.com. Remember, don't forget to check out the Inspiring Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls podcast, which you can find wherever you listen. And thanks so much to today's sponsor, Stitch Fix, your very own online personal styling service. If you have friends and family that would enjoy listening as well, I'd love it if you'd share this link to the podcast and refer them to the website, which is www.quickanddirtytips.com/mighty-mommy. If you have a child who's starting to discover his amazing body, I hope some of the tips discussed in today's topic will help you embrace this part of his or her development because it's all good. Thanks so much for listening, and until next time, happy parenting.